right now. So again, a quick introduction here. My name's Andrew Addy. I'm your rep with Zumper. I work primarily with Stephanie on the marketing team, for those that I haven't met yet. I'm actually joined by three of my colleagues as well. Jordan Wazowski, who is the manager of client relations, Audrey Sampson, who is your client success manager. You've probably seen her in emails and things like that before. And then Jake, who oversees the Midwest, Jake Hauk. So all three of them are on the call. Again, thank you for joining. We really want this to be an educational session to make sure that we're supporting you and your teams, giving you some tips and tricks on fielding traffic and kind of unlocking your day-to-day. We are going to go over, like I said, tips and tricks, but then a little bit on our current partnership. So what your current partnership looks like with Zumper right now across the board at Princeton. And then at the end, we're going to do a little bit of Zumper managed training, which is going to be how you're going to go in and actually edit your listings and make sure that they look the best that they can. So again, thank you for joining. At the end, we're going to have a little bit of time for questions as well. From there, I am going to kick it over to Jordan.
Perfect. Thanks, Andrew. Good morning, everyone. Very excited to chat with you a little bit today about some background on Zumper. I'm going to be going over a high-level overview of some things that make us unique and some ways that you can effectively outreach and connect with your prospects. So I will go ahead and share my screen. Cool. Can everybody see that? Awesome. So first and foremost, we want to talk about the differentiators of Zumper and primarily our mobile traffic. Being that we're capturing an audience that is mobile forward, on their cell phones, using apps all the time, our age demographic that we primarily target is going to be the young professional between 25 and 34. This is something that we found a lot of success with in the way that we operate in terms of capturing that audience, making sure we have the right exposure in different areas that they're looking. We definitely do a lot of Instagram, TikTok. We keep up with social media as a company. So we just make sure that we're really targeting our user base where they are most looking. And really, that is one of the things that makes us different as well in terms of not only how we're capturing the traffic, but the way that we're retaining the traffic. As we all know, most renters are not loyal to any one ILS, but we did find that 69%, almost 70% of our renters are coming to Zumper and only using Zumper. So that is something that even in a world where they have no reason to stick towards one platform or another, we are able to identify that our renters are unique based on the way that we're marketing. And the best part is we pass all that information to you when one of our renters submits a lead. So your leasing team will know not only their name and contact information, but also their move-in date, what floor plan they're looking for, where they're exactly coming from. So we're able to identify if one of your more lead generating areas is local or if people are looking in different areas. We saw a big trend of this happening during the pandemic when renters were moving out of large cities into more suburbs, and we were able to identify for those properties where those leads were coming from. And in turn, when we pass those over to you, we're not only looking at where the renters are coming from and how they found us, but also their behaviors are something that we track. So we have what we call Power Leads AI, and those get turned into a Power Prospects. So when we're passing this information over, we're also identifying their behaviors on our site to be able to say, this person is consistent in looking in this one area. They want a 2-bedroom. They want it to be pet friendly. So when we see that they're consistent with their search across multiple days in a week, they're not necessarily the tire kicker kind of looky-loo that we've all experienced who are, hey, my lease is up next March, but I just want to check out your property now. And then those are identified for you as well. So when those leads come in that do have that search data behind them, we label them as Power Prospects. So you can see in this slide that we have an example of that where it has a little diamond. It identifies that this person sent you a message and they are a Power Prospect. So strike when the iron is hot when you see those emails come in, because we are generating science behind those behaviors. And then, of course, when the lead comes to you, we want to understand how you're outreaching and provide you some tips as well on the best opportunity to outreach. So I've written down a few things here, but I'd like to specifically call out a few bullet points. So promptness, checking in with that lead as soon as it comes in. Like I said before, striking while the iron is hot is really crucial because that means when they send that inquiry, your property is on their brain. They want to know more, they want to talk to you, they want to see what it's all about. So the quicker that we can reach them is really the most effective way to get them engaged, as well as multiple communication channels. So I personally, from a renter perspective, I know that I, during my workday, am probably more inclined to answer a text message than be checking my personal email or answering phone numbers that I don't know. So making sure you're diverse in your outreach methods is really crucial, especially when we're thinking back to that demographic of the young professional in that age group of 24 to 30. And then I also would like to call out the last bullet point here in terms of setting clear next steps. So this is something that I've seen on my own journey as a renter in the past of, just kind of asking for a set of information and receiving that information, but not really knowing what to do with it once I have it. So asking a question to a property like, are you pet friendly? Yes or no is a very simple way to go, or saying something like, hey, we are, but we have a pet deposit and this is how much it is. That doesn't prompt a call to action for the renter other than to say, okay, thanks. So being able to say, hey, we are pet friendly. Here's our pet deposit. When do you want to come in to look at our really cool bark park that we have on site? Or we have a dog wash station. So being able to tailor those responses even goes back to the personalization bullet point here, where we can say, I'm talking to you as an individual. You're not just receiving a generic email that we would send anybody. And then when you do those outreach steps, we have a lot of data that goes back to the effectiveness of those behaviors as well from the on-site teams. So, like I mentioned, response time, getting able to talk to them within that first hour when the lead comes in, actually has a 7 times higher chance of you connecting and qualifying that lead. So making sure that we talk to them, we say, hey, I know you're looking right now in this area. What can I give you more information on? Definitely helps them from getting detracted into other items in their busy days, as well as continuous follow-up. So you do have a lot of opportunity for success when you're reaching out in that first outreach to connect with them. However, we do find that sometimes it can require 5 or more follow-ups to actually get them engaged in that conversation. So that's where the multiple outreach channels will go into play, and you'll be able to see success if you're sending email, phone call, as well as maybe a text message, or even reaching out on social media. I know a lot of properties these days utilize Instagram for their marketing and posting what's going around the community. So that is something that our renters really do respond to well. As well as, like I said, the personalization impact. So personalized emails have that 29% higher open rate and a 41% higher click-through rate than generic emails. So we really want to make sure we're saying, hey, Tom, I see that you're looking for a 2-bedroom in this price range. You want to make sure it has a ceiling fan and a washer and dryer. Let me show you exactly what we have that fits your specific needs. And then the last point here is quality over quantity. So we do want to make sure that you are getting a high quality of renter, especially with all the science that goes into what we're preparing of the demographic and the outreach channels. But also just letting you know that we're dedicated to giving you those bottom of the funnel leads so that they're closer to conversion than any other source out there. That means we're not going to spam you with 100 leads per month. We don't do geofencing or anything like that. We definitely want to make sure you're getting those high intent leads. But the good news is that with Princeton specifically, you're actually across the board, you're getting a higher volume of leads than average, which means you're performing better than your competitors locally. So you're actually getting quality and quantity here, which is a huge benefit. So with that, I will go ahead and pass over to Andrew to give you a little bit more background.
Thanks so much, Jordan. That was great. And yeah, just to piggyback off what Jordan said really quickly, the contact information is huge here. The follow up is only necessary when we're providing you with a lot of that data on the front end. And Zumper does a great job of doing that. We're providing 5 pieces of information on every lead: name, email, phone number, floor plan, and move in date. That is all very important information that you can use to move people through the funnel. So you can go ahead and go on to the next slide, Jordan. Awesome. So let's talk a little bit about what the current package looks like between Princeton and Zumper. First and foremost, every single one of your communities is on a heightened premium placement package right now, whether it's the Advantage or the Advantage Plus package. That's really important because you're going to be basically sitting above everyone that's on the Essential package or the standard listing. It's going to give you a bunch of awesome features that you wouldn't see from our standard listing. So again, I mentioned premium placement. You're going to get Z stories. Z stories are basically our answer to snackable video content that you might see on Instagram, Facebook, social. It's those small snippet videos that renters want to get into really quickly, see a couple photos, see your amenities, and be able to capture that information quickly without really having to sink their teeth into it. So it's a really cool differentiator that Zumper has on our mobile app and our mobile platform. Customizable listings. So all of your listings are going to have the Princeton logo, maybe your property logo. They're going to have links to your website. They're fully customizable with all of the information that we want to shine when it comes to your properties. One of the biggest pieces to what your teams have right now, and I want to stress this, is your rich media that we've given you. So Zumper has provided you with most of you with Matterport links and some of you with some virtual staging. But what you're going to get from the Advantage and the Advantage Plus package is an interior amenity scan, 5 Matterport 360-degree tours, 3 floor plan doll houses, and 15 high-resolution photos, which means that's media that you can have and keep and use freely as you want to. So that's a big piece of this. Zumper's differentiator here is that Matterport links are something that we allow you to use across the board. So you can use them on your website, social media, you can send them out to renters. We are not going to hold those things hostage. Those are yours to keep. And the other thing I'll mention too is the high resolution photos. Even if we part at the end of the day, those are all yours to keep and have forever indefinitely. So I know Stephanie would want me to say this, but media is a huge part of our relationship right now, and we want to continue to deliver that as much as we can. If you want to go on to the next slide, Jordan. Awesome. So we talked about Matterport tours. All of your sites are going to have access to these right now. We're creating some of them as we speak. But then the rich media that I talked about before, those 2 photos in the bottom left corner are actually grabbed from a couple of your sites. I think River Tower is where that one is from. And we've done photos for your sites as well. Those are easily shared. You have access to those at any time that you want to. But I want to stress this again: 3D tour functionality is massive in this industry, especially nowadays. You want to be ahead of the curve. You want to have people that don't necessarily have to be on site to walk through your listings. And we've been able to provide that, and that's again a big piece of our partnership. I'm going to go on to the next slide, please. Let's talk about virtual staging. This is super exciting, and this is a little bit newer to the partnership right now. But any of your sites that are on Advantage Plus are going to get everything I mentioned before, including all those Matterports, the still photos. But you're also going to get 5 virtually staged photos. Most of those, again, have been completed for you at this point, and we're happy to share those. But one of the coolest pieces of this is that you actually get to choose your theme of how you want these virtually staged photos to look. I'm sure you've all gotten the question before: is my queen bed going to fit in this room? Or what is my furniture going to look like in the living room? This is an easy way to do that without having to lug in furniture. They're super high quality photos. And again, it's basically making it a more lively atmosphere for people to view your apartments and get people in the door. Next slide, please. Let's talk about featured listings. So on top of the premium placement that you already have with your packages, there's an extra layer that we've been able to actually use and utilize for a handful of your communities, and that's called a featured listing. What featured listing is going to do is it's going to put you in the top 3 search on our web, mobile app, or desktop app. On desktop. on the Zumper platform. And that's going to, again, put you not only above your competitors, but you're going to sit on the top 3 of that feed every time. So again, it's increasing your visibility, your traffic. And we've used those in a couple different markets. Detroit, obviously, because it is a market with a lot of competition. We've used that to kind of boost traffic for some of your sites. And we're doing that in cases where we want to do lease ups, or if there's a particularly challenging occupancy challenge that we have on sites. So we've done this for a few of your sites as well. And again, it's just putting you in the best light that we can and pushing you towards the top of the page. Next slide, please. Let's talk about Amplify Reviews. So on top of our ILS and our media that we talked about before, we are also providing you with a really amazing reputation management piece here. Review removal is, first and foremost, it is the first of its kind in multifamily. We were the first first company to have exclusivity for review removal. What review removal is doing is it's taking away illegitimate, negative, and invalid reviews to prevent your community's ratings and stars from dropping across the board. So we're able to erase invalid terms and condition reviews across a multitude of different sites. We're able to erase photos, FAQs, and we've actually been doing this with some really awesome success since August 1st when we launched this program for Princeton. If you want to go on to the next slide, Jordan, please. So when is a review reported? Obviously, you're probably sitting here saying, I've seen bad reviews come through before. I know that I can't just remove these. Well, the main point and value that Zumper is providing in this case is that every single major review site has a set of terms and conditions. If a review comes in that goes against those terms and conditions, that review is then subject to be removed. The first process of this is flagging the review and reporting that you want it to be removed. We are taking that and doing that ourselves. We're doing that for you. So behind the scenes, we are requesting that these illegitimate and negative reviews be removed on your behalf. This is something that, again, we've seen a ton of success. We've been able to remove a plethora of bad reviews that were affecting your star ratings across the board. And some of these are the reasons why a review might be reported. If it's off topic, if it's spam, if it's a conflict of interest. This is a big one in our industry. If someone managed your community in the past and was let go unfavorably, and then they go back into your listing and bash your listing and say bad things about the property. I'm sure you've probably seen that before. Profanity, if there's swear words in your listings, your reviews, those are subject to change. Bullying and harassment. If anyone's using your name or your team by name, first or last name, those again are subject for us to go on the back end and remove those for you. Discrimination or hate speech is an obvious one. And then personal information, I mentioned if they're using your name, address, phone number, anything like that. And the big piece of this I want to stress is that this goes back to the beginning of time, meaning that from the day that your Google reviews or any of your review sites were started, we are scouring those reviews and negative reviews to remove those, even going back as far as 2011 and before. I have a slide coming up here I'll share with you really quickly, but these are going all the way back to the beginning of time. These are a list of some of the review sites that we do manage for you and remove from. It's not the entire list, but you can see some of the major ones: Google, Yelp, Facebook, apartment ratings, which it has in the past has been very hard to get into and remove reviews. We've been able to be really successful there. Glassdoor, which is an internal tool, Google Maps, Yahoo, Rentable, which is a competitor of ours, quote unquote competitor of ours that has review on their site. We're covering all of your bases here. Next slide. So I wanted to bring this one up really quickly. So this is River Rays, and I see Holly's on the call. We were actually able to remove a review from 2006. That was 17 years ago. And I wanted to bring this up here because it names all of your properties. So this has been sitting here for 17 years. It's negative connotation to your properties. And we were able to remove this not only on apartment rating, but it was actually posted several other places. A couple weeks back, we were able to get this removed for you. And again, it's really just an invaluable piece to keep your rep management in place and make sure that you outwardly have a favorable view and that Princeton looks good to people that are looking at your sites. I think from there, I am going to pass it over to Audrey.
Thank you, Andrew and Jordan. I'm Audrey. Like they said, I am over all of these properties. So if you guys ever have any questions, concerns, you can definitely bring those my way. I'll either have the answer or I'll get the answer, whatever it takes. As far as the last piece, I am going over the manage portal, which you guys should at this point have login, should have had access already, and also should have logged in at some point. So just a show of hands, no judgment here. Raise your hand if you've been in the manage portal or if you even know what I'm talking about. Okay, cool. I'm sure not everybody's visible. I'm sure you're raising your hands. So I'm just gonna share my screen. I will show you first off what the actual login page should look like. So the URL, can you guys see my screen? Just give me a thumbs up. Cool. So the URL is just zumper.com/manage. So you'll log in here with your credentials. And then just as a sample, of course, bear with me a second. I had one of them pulled up. Bear with me. Of course, this always happens when things are live, right? I think I had Fox Point pulled up. Yeah, so we'll just use them. So once you get in, you'll only be viewing your own property. You're not going to have anybody else's. So that's kind of nice. You don't have to worry about anything but just your property. So you'll just click in here and go to edit. From here, you can add photos. Of course, with the media that we're doing for you all, we are adding those already to your listing, but you do have the ability to edit from here. As you can see, there's also building photos on this property in particular. Let's say you guys wanted to update the property description, that's here, as well as amenities. That's something that I've handled on the back end already. So there shouldn't be a ton of like editing on this page specifically. But if you go back to exit, it's going to bring you to the page where your floor plans live. This is probably going to be the biggest piece for you all. Please note that with so many listings that I'm not going in and editing this unless you need help from me. The expectation is that if your pricing is changing, maybe it stays stagnant and it doesn't change very often, and it's probably lucky for you in that instance. But if it does, you would just go to the specific floor plan, go into edit, and just scroll down and you can adjust any of the information, but specifically the rent would be the piece that you would want to revise. And I will say, just as a caveat, I'm in this system a lot, and every once in a while you'll get a glitch, you'll get an error message. I know that's frustrating. Be patient. The system's a little slow. It's not meant for what we use it for today, but I know that they have plans of making it even better than it is. So if you ever run into any issues where you are trying to update, please send error messages to me. Let me know what the changes are. I can help you in those cases, just for the sake of time and to get you guys squared away. But other than that, that's going to be the main place for you to make your edits. The only other thing that you could do, obviously you guys have a system of tracking the leads, but if you ever wanted to check at any point, you can actually use this drop down here in the corner and you can download a lead report. You can switch formats, but that's another thing that's useful at a property level that you can take a look at. But as far as everything, that's it for me. So thank you guys for listening. I know we just threw a lot at you. I guess the next piece really is just opening the floor to you now that we've kind of like all had our pieces, and see if you guys have any questions for any of us. Just make sure you come off mute.
Any questions at all? Don't be shy. No? Okay. Well, great. So again, we appreciate this. Hopefully you've gotten a lot out of this call. Again, we wanted it to be educational. What we're actually going to do is we're going to send a follow-up email after this, and it's going to include a Google form. We want to make sure that all of you have the correct user login for Zumper Manage. We want to make sure that it's a seamless process for you to keep your pricing and availability up to date. Obviously, ILSs and lead traffic and converting leads only works when the leads are going to the floor plans that are available. Unfortunately, that a lot of that falls on you just based on the fact that there's no feed right now. It's a manual process, but I want to stress that that is super important. We want to make sure that the traffic is being converted and that it's appropriate for the sites that you have. So we'll send out a follow-up email if you have any questions at all or are having trouble getting into your managed login. We can go from there and get you that information. In the meantime, if you have any questions for the three of us, we're always available. So keep an eye out for that follow-up email, and thanks again for joining.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.